Oh, hey guys. Today we're going to be working on my 2019 BMW X5. This is the G05 body version. We're going to be changing out some worn tie rod ends, inners, and the outers, and all the steps that are needed to do this job. And then at the very end of this video, I'm going to show you how to do a string alignment, making sure your toe is good. That way you can safely drive to a dealership or to an alignment shop just to get an official alignment. So let's get started. All right, so there's gonna be a couple things that we're gonna be needing to do this job. We'll look over here. These are the tie rod ends. They are from BMW. And then I will post the part numbers. You can get these parts from ECS. They're actually not all available yet on FCP. So I got the tie rod outers, the inners, and then I've got the boot straps. I'm gonna try to reuse my boots since it's a pretty low mileage newer BMW. Let's go ahead and get ready to jack up the car, take off the tires, and we'll get working on this project. All right, let's go under here and see where we can jack up the car on. There's actually a spot right up front. Just gotta go a little higher to make them even. And I've got both jack stands under here, nice and even, and they're on this plate here in the center of it. And then I'm also gonna leave this jack up front just as some added security. So I'll put a little bit of pressure on that and just leave it right there. So we're gonna pull out ISTA and we're gonna look at the vehicle and see the specifics on the torque specs for doing this job. So that'll make it a little bit easier for us. And I'll show you those specific torque specs, that way you know how to do this also. So here are the instructions on ISTA. This is for the tie rod, or what they call it is a track rod end replacement. They give you the very specific details on how to remove these and how to reinstall the track rod or tie rod ends. Here you can see the specific torques for the locking nut and then also for the tie rod end nut. And they do say to replace the tie rod end nut. Here's a specialty tool from BMW to tighten up the hose clamp holding on the boot. But I'll post the Amazon link so you can get this tool also. And then here's the BMW tool to remove the inner tie rod. I will be using a different tool. And you can see here under technical information, it says to avoid damage, make sure that the rack is positioned inside the steering gear as far as possible. And then it says to grease the boot when we're getting ready to reinstall it. And then lastly, here's the instructions on tightening that hose clamp on the boot. And this will be done with a specialty tool that I'll post in the video description. And then here I'll put the alignment specs for the front axle of several different G05 versions. And at the end I'll put the G07. All right, so now we can go ahead and remove these tires. You can set this aside. First, we'll start with loosening this little jam nut. That's nice, nothing is seized up. That'll make it easier removing all these parts. And then next, we're gonna remove this main nut right here. You might have to use a Torx bit to hold the nut in there, but we're gonna use an impact and see if it'll come right off. And this is a 21mm socket. Gonna be a 21mm socket. Actually, we'll just get the big guns out. So we need to hold this top, and then we'll use a wrench on here to loosen it up the rest of the way. Okay, it is loose out of there. Next, we'll take off this boot. We'll remove this first lock, and then we need to cut the second one. And now we can cut the second one that is down inside here. That was easier. Now the boot can be pulled forward. And because I'm reusing this boot, I want to protect it. So the next step is going to be undoing this nut here to push this tie rod all the way out, and then we're going to remove it fully. So we'll count how many times we spin it, just so we can try to get it back around the same going in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 51, 52, 52. And then we can remove this boot. Check the condition of the boot. It all looks good. It's not full of water or anything like that. It's in good condition. It's not ripped either. And then the next thing is we're going to assess the inside here. Make sure there's no damage inside here. There should be some grease. It's not full of water. So it is good. So now we need to remove this inner tie rod. Instructions online say use a special tool to put onto this end. A lot of people just use a big adjustable wrench. There's also tie rod end tools you can rent from AutoZone. Another commonly used tool is this guy here. What this tool does is you slide it on top of the tie rod. You set it here, and then as you spin it, loosening it, this grabs a hold of this outer piece, and it allows you to put a wrench on this and spin this whole piece like that. You see these teeth grab onto there. This was actually from AliExpress for like $10. Before you loosen this up, make sure this rod is as far into the gearbox as it can be. So you can take your steering wheel and turn the steering wheel to the right. Yeah, it went in too far, so not all the way to the right. We'll do it right about there. All right. So now you can assess your joint, make sure that all feels good. You're not reusing this, but you just check for any damages. And it looks good. Now we can take our new inner tie rod. We can tighten it on here. We'll do it right about there. And this is gonna get torqued down to 105 Newton meters. So we'll take our specialty tool and we'll slide it on here. Just like that, you could torque it down. That was easy. Now make sure this is all clean. And it says to use a special lube when putting on the dust boot, but I don't have any special lube. So I'll probably grab some dielectric grease just to put on the inside, just so it slips over that. I'll put this end on here because it is loose on there. That's the new one. And just like that, it slipped right onto it. There's a specialty tool that you use to tighten this. And let's see if I can get a good grip. Yeah, and that's tight on there. I'll post the links to all these little tools. That was also from AliExpress. And now we can tighten this end on here. We'll use the original one as it's a little bit bigger. And then now we can get this tie rod and the new one put on. And we will count the same number of rotations just to get it lined up nicely. And don't forget to use anti-seize so these don't seize up on you in the future. And now we can start counting over. Next step is going to be re-hooking up the end and tightening this down using a new nut. We'll use the gun to draw it up. Then we'll torque it down to 175 Newton meters. Once we get done, then we'll tighten up this bolt. But first we're going to put tires back on both sides. We'll set down the vehicle and then we will check the alignment. So you can repeat these same exact steps on the next side. Now let's move over to the other side. I've got this socket wrapped with some soft tape here to protect the wheels. We'll do the same thing. We'll count how many turns out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 48. So 48 turns on this one. Carefully remove the boot. Inspect it. No rips, no tears. Good condition. Look at the gear inside here. This is a spiral gear. So now we can remove this next part. But make sure the steering wheel is farther in this time. That way we don't damage it. And we'll try it. This should work. Essentially, it's going to bite on there. And it breaks it loose. Okay, so we'll grab the new parts. And then we can reinstall the new one. Then to tighten it down, we spin this guy around. Get the torque wrench on here and torque it down. That's 105 Newton meters. Now we can get ready to put our new boot on. We're going to put some grease on here first. Take a new clamp and we can shove it in here. Take your specialty tool. And don't forget to use anti-seize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 48. So now we can put this nut back on, the new nut, and turn the steering wheel out a little bit, make it easier. Now we can torque this down to 175 Newton meters. Now we can put the tire back on. Next step, we're going to be removing the jack stands. And then the next important step, because we're actually going to be doing alignment, is you're going to get yourself 4 pizza pans and you're going to set 2 of them under the tire, and that's going to allow the tire to spin. But you don't want it middle of the tire, you kind of want it pushed in because the tire actually pivots on this joint right here. So it'll spin on that, but it's hard to make it perfect. So you'll make sure the tire lands on these 2 pizza pans. You can grab the steering wheel, turn it a couple times. Now you can see it turns a lot easier with those pizza pans. So what I have here is 2 PVC pipings, one in the front, one in the rear, and then I put notches in the PVC pipings that are both an equal length to each other. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a box around the BMW. I measure from the center of the wheel to the string. I get the same amount right here, and then in the rear, even if you have a staggered setup, you still get the same amount over here as you do the other side. What that's going to do is create an exactly 90-degree angle, and do the same on the front So now I can say that this string is exactly parallel with the body of the vehicle. That's why you do these exact notches in here. I have the string the level of the center of the wheel. And then same thing with this side. All right, so in order to do the string method, what you're measuring for is from the distance from the string to the back of the wheel to the front of the wheel. And essentially you want the distance to be bigger at the front of the wheel. What that's going to mean is the wheel is angled inward because you want your vehicle to have a little bit of toe inward. See, when I angle it in, it makes this distance bigger. If you have some calipers, it makes it really nice to use. So you'll come here and you'll figure out how you want to use the wheel, where you want to go. Make sure everything's even on the wheel. And then I'm going to set my first measurement. And then I'm going to zero this out. Then you do the same on this other side. Have this even on the wheel. And then I'm going to pull this out. And then our toe in on this side is 1.08 inches. Take our calculator and then we're going to add the toe from the other side now. So we'll start on this back side again. Okay, string is stopped. We'll zero this. And then same thing right here. Okay. And this side is 0.58 inches. So we'll go back, we'll add this into the calculator, plus 0.585, and that equals a total toe of 0.1665 inches. So then you can take that and go to your calculator. I'll post this link online. We'll put in here 0.1665, and then the tire diameter 22 inches, and then calculate. So what that's saying, our total toe in degrees is 0.43. And here you can see the factory specs for the all-wheel drive steel spring version of the G05. And it is calling for a total toe in of 0 degrees and 16 minutes. So the way to determine what the angle or degrees would be using 16 minutes is you take 1 and you divide it by 60, and then you would multiply that number by 16, and that would get you the total toe of 0.267 degrees, or 16 minutes of toe. So we'll go back to this app. Toe angle for one wheel, the degrees is 0.133. 22-inch diameter wheel. Calculate it. So toe for one wheel should be 0.05. So we'll go ahead and start with adjusting the driver's side, and we'll make sure the steering wheel is even every time we make any adjustment. So it's too much toe, and we'll go down a quarter of a turn. There's our first adjustment. Make sure your steering wheel's still straight. And I went the wrong way. Yep, I went the wrong way. Me going a quarter turn down actually tighten this tie rod end into here. So I need to go a quarter turn up to go back. So there's a quarter, and we'll do another quarter of a turn. And we're gonna retake our measurement. Make sure your steering wheel is straight. To make sure your steering wheel stays straight, to get the little angle finder, you can put it on there and you can adjust to make sure it's exactly straight. Make our next adjustment. It's still not enough. We're going to be going up with it. Do another quarter of a turn. Check our steering wheel. Make sure the degrees stay the same, and the degrees did change a good amount. Okay, even again. And let's check our measurements. Okay, right now I have 0 toe. So we'll make another adjustment and not do as much. We'll go back down 1/8 of a turn. You have to do a lot of this. Check the steering wheel, still zeroed, and check your numbers. Okay, only 0.19, so we gotta go a little bit more. Toe in on this side, 0.051 inches. So now we go do the same on the other side. Just do this a couple times and repeat. Let's go over to the other side. Take our measurements. This says it's toed in 0.35. So we need more toe in. Check the steering wheel, still straight. 0.55. So we are just within level. Let's go check the other side again. I got 0.44. The total toe for both sides is 0.099 inches, and that would equal 0.25 degrees. Given the factory specs say plus or minus 10 minutes of degrees, we are perfectly within spec. And last thing you need to do is tighten down this little bolt right here, and it's going to be to 32 Newton meters. Do the same on the other side. And lastly, don't forget to torque down your wheels. And on the first drive, I could tell the steering wheel was nice and straight and the car was actually driving fairly straight. From here, I took it to an alignment shop. That way they can do a proper alignment and make sure I don't get any abnormal tire wear. And here you can see the results of my string alignment. For my calculations, I should have had a total toe of 0.25 degrees, but as you can see, it was 0.21, which is still well within spec. And after a proper alignment, you could see that they were able to correct a lot of issues that my BMW had. So if you found this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any tips or tricks, leave a comment. Again, thanks for watching.